Welcome to the Alpha Girl Confidence Podcast, where we are empowering youth female athletes to play and live confidently. My name is Shay Haddo, and each week I will bring you new episodes to teach you the strategies and tools that you need in order to live a confident, empowered life both on and off the playing field. Hey, what's up? And welcome back to the show, episode 155. As you can tell by the title, today's episode is for parents. So parents, listen up. If you're a player listening, go share with your parents, listen with your parents, have a discussion on it because it's a good one. So in this episode, I am sharing a live training that I did in my Facebook group all about how parents can facilitate motivation in their kids without straining the relationship. This has been a very common question that I've received over the last few months from parents, and how can I get my kid to stay motivated? How can I get her to, develop motivation? So this is going to be a very powerful episode where I go into 3 very specific ways that I know are going to provide a ton of value to you. So as you listen to this episode, take notes, and if it helps, if it's valuable, then please share it with a friend, and hope you enjoy the episode. So that's what we're going to get into today. And so we will talk about some strategies to help her get motivated, help her stay motivated. But the big thing here, and that thing we're going to hit on first, is how to do that without straining the relationship. That's the big thing. You can try to motivate your daughter, and maybe it works, but maybe you strain the relationship and as you're doing it. Is that worth it to you? Probably not. So the biggest thing for me is how to keep the balance, and it's a very fine line between pushing and just letting them do what they want. That's a big topic that we had on our call with the parents in the Alpha Girl Collective was how do we keep our kids accountable, but make sure that it's coming from them and not us. So for me, and I've done a training, a while ago with my dad. My story with my dad, especially when I tore my ACL when I was 12, that was huge because our relationship was always a bit strained because of the sport relationship and the pressure and everything like that. But especially when I got injured and I was in rehab, I didn't want to do my rehab. I was 12, 13 years old. I didn't want to do my rehab. What 12-year-old, what 13-year-old wants to sit and do exercises? Nobody, right? And so he would push me a lot to the point where I didn't listen. I still can't bend my knee all the way because I didn't listen. And if I would have listened, yes, it would have helped, but maybe there could have been a better way for us to make sure that our relationship was healthy while providing me the motivation that I needed or helping me to get the motivation myself. And the thing I want to point out and almost in a very loving way, call you guys out on is how can I, and we all do this, I do this, is how can I get someone to do something? How can I get my daughter to be motivated? How can I get my teammates to try harder? And that's the thing is we can't get anyone to do anything. We all have free will. We can't get someone to do something. We can help someone come to that conclusion on their own. There's things we can do to encourage a behavior, but we got to let go of the notion that I have to get someone to do something because that's never going to be a healthy way to do it. All right. So we have that side of the coin where the motivation purely comes from the parent and it doesn't work. It strains the relationship. They're not motivated. Nothing good comes of that. Right. If something good does come, maybe it's a quick short-term motivation and then it leads to burnout. Right. And on the other side, I don't know how many softball parents are listening here. You don't even have to be a softball parent. But the softball college World Series, Jocelyn Alo was one of the stars. I think she won the college player of the year. And they were talking about her story and how every single day growing up, well, I don't know how long, but every single day she would go out with her dad and hit 1,000 balls with her dad, every single day. And so I was interested and curious about that because I was okay, did it come from her or did it come from her dad? Because I'd be shocked if it came from her dad and she made it to college and is at the level she's at. No, I looked and it came from her. It was her saying, hey, Dad, will you please come out with me? I want to hit these balls, right? And so that's just a good kind of preface before we get into it is realizing that if it comes from your daughter, chance, like it's going to be so much healthier for you. It's going to be so much healthier for her. It's going to be so much healthier for her sport. But the question is, how do we get her to be motivated, right? So again, my honest answer is you really, no matter what, you can't force motivation or anything upon your daughter or anyone else, right? Because it's just going to lead to resentment. It's going to lead to burnout. And I am like, first, I can say that I've been there. And I don't want you and your daughter to have a relationship of resentment just because you were trying to get her motivated to do something, right? So I want you to think of more, instead of how to get someone to do something, how to get your daughter to be motivated, is how you can help facilitate her to find her own motivation, right? How you can facilitate her to find her own motivation. And number one, and I think sometimes this is so simple that we forget about it, is lead by example. Like if you are trying to get your daughter, I'm going to keep using air quotations when I say get. If you're trying to get your daughter to be motivated, are you being that example yourself with your work and if with your hobbies and like that kind of stuff? Like maybe you don't have something like, a sport that you're working on or whatever, but are you yourself embodying motivation? Are you yourself embodying discipline, habits, all that kind of stuff? Because here's the thing with motivation, and this is going a little bit deeper than I was planning on, but motivation is very short term. The ultimate goal is not motivation. I don't want to be motivated because motivated only lasts so long. Motivation is only when I want to do it, right? Like I want to get to the point where I'm disciplined, where I have habits put in place to where I'm disciplined. So maybe it's rethinking motivation is the short term thing, at least that's how I see it, whereas discipline is doing the thing even when you don't feel like it. Because if we're just relying on motivation, that's like relying on willpower. Like how long can you say no to the cookie? For me, not very long. Maybe for a week, maybe for a couple weeks. But I'm motivated to stay away from the cookie, but am I disciplined? No, I'm not there. So do we see kind of the difference between motivation and discipline? Just kind of a sidetrack there, right? So lead by example, that's the first one. And a way that you can do this is obviously with your own work, with your own hobbies, that kind of stuff. But also like, can you maybe do the things with her? Can you go out and if you're asking her to go, get in her fitness, can you do the fitness with her? Or can you try? Or can you walk while she runs? Or like, can you do something? And when I say, can you do it with her? I don't mean that you're sitting there with your notebook, like timing her, like, oh, that wasn't good enough. Like, I don't mean that, because your kid doesn't want you to go out there and look over their shoulder. But can you like say, hey, I'm going to go out and do my strength workout. Do you want to go juggle? And just kind of making it like these family habits. And again, going back to the habits, like making it family habits and creating like a good lifestyle for you, which will then in turn make it easier for her to be motivated. All right, number 2, this one's really cool. Number 2 is to have a conversation and ask her what her big dreams and goals are. Okay, and the big asterisk here is do it with zero judgment. Zero judgment. So if your daughter says that she wants to be the best softball player in the world, say, awesome, very cool. What do we need to do to get you there? Okay, so it's not like, oh, honey, no. I think we should come up with something a little bit more realistic. If you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about being realistic. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's trainings in there. Search the term realistic. You'll find a training in there. Okay, but like ask her what her big dreams and goals are with no judgment. Whether you think that's too small, whether you think that's too big, that doesn't matter. Just like have the conversation. Hey, what are your big goals and dreams? Like, what do you want to achieve? Who do you want to be? Like, who do you want to be is way more important than who you want to achieve. That could be a whole nother conversation, so I won't get into that. But like ask her without judgment, what are your big goals? And then step 2 here is come up with a plan, have her come up with a plan. You just listen, you facilitate, but have her come up with the action steps and what it will take to actually reach that goal. Okay, so if your daughter wants to become an Olympian, that's great, awesome. What do you think you need to do to achieve that? Well, like what are some things you think you need to do? What kind of person do you think you need to become to actually become an Olympian? right? And don't do it for her. Like, you can be the facilitator, the question asker, but have her actually come up with the steps. Have her figure out, what are my goals, what are my dreams, and how do I get there? And you're just there to support her. And another question you can ask as well is, okay, so once you figure out what that goal is, what do you need to do to get there? Or who do you need to become to get there? And number 3 is also, how can I support you? How can I support you? I think that may be the most powerful one, is how can I support you as your mom, as your dad, as your grandparent, as your coach, whoever you are in this example. How can I support you in reaching your goals? Like, honestly, how many of us, I know my parents supported me, but I don't remember them ever asking me, how can I support you? Like, I really ask yourself, have you ever asked your daughter that? If not, like, that's the big thing I want you to take away from today's training, is how can I support you in reaching your goals and reaching your dreams? How can I support you in being more motivated? Because a lot of times we just assume that we know what they want, but we can't ever assume. We're not in their head. So how can we ask, how can I support you, and then do it? Right? So that's big there. So that's kind of the goals, dreams, figuring out how they can get there, them figuring it out, you supporting it, and then asking them, how can I support you in getting there? So number 3 here, all right? Number 3 is to either be her accountability partner or encourage her to find an accountability partner. Because as we all know, we've all done it, right? We've all had the goal to go to the gym. It's New Year's Eve and our goal is to go to the gym, and we do it for a little bit. But then our alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and we think, oh man, I'm really tired today. I don't want to go to the gym. It's cold outside. I don't want to go to the gym. So you don't go because you're only letting down yourself. So it's okay if you let yourself down, right? That's how we think. But think about it again, and this time you're like, okay, I'm going to get an accountability partner. I'm going to go with my friend. Okay, so your friend and you have a date to go to the gym. It's 6 a.m., the alarm goes off, and you think, oh my gosh, I don't want to go. But this time, you have to meet somebody there. You have to report to somebody. You have to say, hey, I'm going to meet you there. So you can't let that person down. You're going to be there. Right? So whether it's like a physical, like accountability partner where, hey, you're going to go train with your friend here, and that's the accountability, or whether it's like a coach or a mentor that it's like, hey, you're the coach or the mentor says, hey, let me know when you get your workout in. Right? It's like, it's so much easier to say no to ourselves, which kind of sucks, which shouldn't be that easy. It's so much easier to let ourselves down than it is to let other people down. Right? And if we can get to the point where we can not want to let ourselves down, like, that's where the real magic happens. But let's at least start with, like, have an accountability partner where, whether that's you, whether that's your daughter's sibling, whether that's your daughter's teammate, whether it's her friend, whether it's her mentor, whatever it is, like, accountability is huge. The more accountability that she has, the easier it'll be for her to stay motivated. The more she stays motivated, the easier it will be for her to develop habits, and then for her to develop discipline. So it's like, it's this process. But accountability is kind of like it's like a cheat sheet, shortcut, whatever you want to call it. Like, having someone to keep you accountable is huge. So with that being said, it's totally going to depend on your and your daughter's relationship. For me, I would have never wanted my dad to be my accountability partner. Sorry, Dad, if you're listening. I would have never wanted my parent to be my accountability partner. Then it just would have been like, right? So if it's not you, help her to find somebody. Okay, help her to find somebody. Okay, and if you're in my programs, that can be me or it can be the other girls in a program, right? That's what the program's for, is accountability.